At some point I promise that I will make a video when Despicable Me 4 actually releases, but as someone that loves good writing and in loving good writing, I love the first 2 Despicable Me movies, I have something that will make you more excited for the new movie coming out in July. I would also like to kindly ask that if you have interest in following what I have to say later on with even more topics on animation and good writing, please subscribe and let me know what you like and dislike about these videos. And with that said, please enjoy. So let's take us back around 2017, as we as a humanity are celebrating the upcoming release of the 3rd Despicable Me film, after Minions teased us with more content like that. The one big problem is how in 2015 we were let down with the cash grab that is Minions, which made over $1 billion at the box office, which in that nature is extremely difficult to do. But with the roaring success of the first 2 Despicable Me movies, making a movie about the toy sellers that the Minions are made this first Minions movie a success. So with the release of Despicable Me 3, the weirdest thing that happened was that people didn't like the movie, and even the actors a part of the movie didn't seem very confident with it, but money speaks, and with the $1 billion this movie brought in, no wonder we're getting another Despicable Me movie. The thing is, what happened with these 2 movies, and why should we be worried but excited for this upcoming film? Well, let's start off with this. Despicable Me 3 and Minions are directed by the same people, who are Pierre Coffin and Kyle Balda. Now, interestingly enough, these 2 people actually have been a part of Despicable Me since the first movie, but had never been in the director role of the movies until these 2. Something interesting is how Kyle Balda also made Minions: The Rise of Gru. Again, not the best movie, but is a much-needed step up for the franchise. Now, these 3 movies are arguably not the worst thing that came out in each of those years, but also at the same time they are not great, and I know a lot of people actually enjoyed Minions: The Rise of Gru, but as someone that loves to get encapsulated with stories, I wasn't a fan. Even when I rewatched it again with an audience lens, trying to enjoy it for what it is, I still in the end felt disappointed. And to be honest, all of these movies feel disappointing at each time I would rewatch one of these movies. I just wouldn't find anything to like about it. But when I rewatch the first 2 Despicable Me movies, I have a great time because these 2 are genuinely good movies with genuine entertainment along with a genuine good story and a genuine big heart to wrap them all up in a perfect bow. And I'm happy to say that this is Chris Renaud, aka the director of the first and second Despicable Me movies. When I first learned about this, I couldn't withhold my joy as the person that created the best Despicable Me movies is back in the role of director, ready to make another movie. And although he is also a part of the Minions 1 and 2 and Despicable Me 3, he did not have the full power to make these movies great. And with him being the director of 4, I am sure that there are some things we should be really excited about. Let's take for example that Coffin and Balda, I will give them credit because I feel like they know how to tell a story with Minions. But when they tried to pull off Despicable Me 3, they basically made that movie in half Gru and half Minion style. And for a movie like Despicable Me, that doesn't work. As always, Gru and the girls have been the main crew. And although they have added characters, the human story is always the most important part, as let's discuss what I discuss best, and that's the good writing of Despicable Me. Since Despicable Me was able to actually make us care for Gru, even though he only had malicious intent to use the girls with his plot to steal the moon and be a supervillain, and that becomes clear when he puts the girls up for adoption again after they've been waiting for so long, and for Gru to finally realize his place as their father, after he remembers that he might actually be able to make it to the dance recital, only to go Super Saiyan realizing that the girls have been kidnapped by Vector, and delivers the sweet line,
"I will catch you, and I will never let you go again,"
which completes his arc of learning that those small joys in life, as he literally shrinks the moon, are only temporary joys, as literally the moon regrows back to size, and that family is forever, and something that shouldn't be given up. Now that, my friends, is true storytelling. Now we get on to Despicable Me 2, where we introduce something else Gru has to deal with, and that's how he is a single man, living with 3 daughters, and that this movie introduces love in a different way, as Gru falls in love and marries Lucy, and shows the progression of their relationship throughout the movie, and shows how far Gru is willing to go to protect the ones he loves, as he now has to save Lucy, where he does everything he can to save her, which in the end works, and along with that completes the movie off with the girls finally having a mom, aka somebody that they can relate to, and how Gru, as set up in the first movie, is no longer alone and completes his family arc. Again, my friends, a movie that builds on an already great story in a way that respects what it's trying to do. Now we're on to Despicable Me 3. I think the only thing I can say is that he had a brother he never knew about and has to defeat Trey Parker because he's mad that his show got canceled back in the day. And so, my friends, what have we learned? Well, Despicable Me 1 and 2 helped reshape Gru's family dynamic with a very strong impact on the heart, while Despicable Me 3 doesn't try to expand it anymore. It only introduces a brother of Gru's that they never try to develop, other than being his brother. And surprisingly, this movie tries to develop Mel, who is a minion we have never met before, more than Gru or even Drew, which is my long explanation of why Coffin and Balda don't know how to make human stories, as they also didn't do that in either Minions movies. But before you start thinking the last segment of me talking about the writing was a waste of time, trust me, it's not, and leads me into why you should be excited for Despicable Me 4, and how exactly this movie could be as great as the first two movies were. Now, obviously, a very important thing is that the original director of the best in the trilogy is back and seems to be ready to make something that has heart and laughs, but also could deliver a nice story. But I can't just say that, I need to give some examples. Let's take the example of how Despicable Me 1 and 2 perfect the action sequence at the end of their movies, as, although relatively similar, we see Gru suddenly become stronger, as his heart grows bigger and bigger. It's almost like how The Grinch plays out, because of how he realizes the true meaning of Christmas and delivers all the presents back to the Who's, but in this case, when Gru's heart grows bigger, his will to save the people he loves increases, and now with Gru in the seat to not only save his wife and daughters, but now his newborn baby. Something I noticed in the trailer that could have a nice payoff is how Gru's son doesn't seem to like him, but is much more fond of his mom, which means that there might be some sort of conflict between Gru and baby to gain trust and love from Gru's son. I also wouldn't be surprised if the reason the baby is coming along with Gru's fight is because he and the baby are trying to spend more time together so they can grow on each other. I also think that with this new inclusion of a son, this allows Despicable Me to let the girls grow up more. If they decided to make a fifth movie, which I think is a stupid thing to say, because if the second Minions movie, almost reached $1 billion, I am sure this movie will break $1 billion and could be the highest grossing Illumination movie they've ever made. And allowing the girls to grow up and focusing more on his new son could allow for some refreshing content later. It's not like a Furious 5 situation where they didn't bring them back because that would mean Awkwafina's excessive paycheck would decrease. Oh no. But instead, the cast can feel very focused and avoid a Ghostbusters Frozen Empire situation where there's too many characters on screen to actually care about it anymore. I must say that Despicable Me 4 is something that we won't know will work or be good until we see it. And the speculation of bringing back their original director will not do anything, as honestly, a lot of Hollywood has been losing its touch with their movies, and that some people just don't understand how to make movies good. And yes, that's a picture of Mike Mitchell, and no, I will never forget him for ruining Kung Fu Panda. I hope that Despicable Me 4 is good. And let me just say, if it's not, and they make me look like an idiot with this video, I'm not going to be too kind, and you can count on that. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Enchanted.